Hello, I'm Mike Moore, and welcome to the How to Win podcast. We are getting ready to dive into this wonderful, powerful, life transforming experience called marriage. The title that we will be using is Marriage Matters Lessons from the Journey. We're going to talk with 4 different couples, all married, and they are going to take us on a journey, and we're going to learn from their experiences. We're going to learn from their insights. We're going to learn from their wisdom. And we're going to talk about topics like communication. We're going to talk about parenting. We're going to talk about conflict, resolution. It's going to be powerful. So whether you are single or engaged or married, there will be something that you're going to get from this. So let's get started.
Well, we first met at, you young, you won't remember this, but it was T's, it was a club. And my wife was a bartender. She was behind the bar, but anyway.
You know, really how James and I got together. By working the bar at T's, you get to know your customers. So, you know, when customers come in, they could throw up one thing and I know what they drink and I have it at the bar. So I knew he liked music. So it was February of '79. Lou Rawls came to town and I said, hey, Lou Rawls came to town. And he said, yeah. I said, are you going? He said, yeah, if I could take you.
She was dating somebody and I was dating somebody. I played basketball. She was a cheerleader. Walked in the gym one day and I see her. I said, wow, man, that there is so fine. I was telling another ball player. And they said, what's up? I said, man, I got to have her right there. When her brother picked me up on the bus there, I was catching the bus, I didn't have a car. And they picked me up. And she kept saying, what you were calling me?
When he introduced himself, I thought he said Ferguson. What a black dude named Ferguson.
So I go to the mall. I go to that one store on the one far end. They don't have it. So I call her and I said, Mom, they ain't got it. Let me just give you the $10. And she was like, no, just go to the other end. And so as I'm walking to the other end, I see Rohan and her mom pass my face. And they got my attention. Both of them beautiful women. I didn't know who she was. I had never seen her before. And so I just kind of looked and saw where they were going. So they went to the T-Mobile booth. And they're kind of standing on the other side. And I'm looking at both of them. And I'm going in. I got to kind of figure out what's going to happen, right? And divine intervention happened because her mom walks off. And knowing them now, that don't really happen like that. And so I shoot in there, man, and I ask her name, and she's kind of taken aback because I just walk up on her, and she told me Rohan, but I didn't understand it, so she had to tell me her name probably 5 times. I almost blew it on the intro, like seriously. But she finally told me her name, and she asked me, "Well, how old are you?" Because I was a little scraggly looking, buddy. I was all ashy and everything, probably, and she had some questions about me or whatnot, and I told her my name. I told her how old I am, and she said, well, why should I give you my number, right? And back then, I had all kind of little stuff I would say, but I do believe he gave me what to say to her.
We worked at a bank. It was called Compass then. Now it's called PNC. I was in customer service. She was in another department. And I went one day, because all the women was after me and flocking me and stuff like that. But anyway, I one day went to this lunchroom area. You reading their eyes are watching God, and you said, yeah. And I think I said something about one part that she didn't get to yet about the character. So she knew I wasn't just trying to throw them words on her. I said something about TK or somebody, and she said, she was like, wow, so that's how we met.
I thought he was fine. I thought he was fine. I thought he had beautiful bow legs. And he was a great point guard. And I thought he could shoot.
Internally, I was like, oh, please don't let him come over here. Because I was in a space of like, I'm good. I'm not trying to date. I'm not trying to entertain. And that's where I was. And so, but yeah, and he came up. So by the time he stepped up, I kind of had my guard already up. Like, how old are you? Because he looked young at the time. Like, I can't know. You look 18. So that's what was going through my mind.
She said, okay, so we went on our first date to see Lou Rawls, And she wouldn't, I had a house. I had my own house, She had her own house. And I wanted to meet her. I really wanted her to come to my house and ride with me. She wouldn't do that. So I met her back at T's. She left her car at T's, I left my car. And then, after the concert was over, we get ready to go home. I said, well, I go by. This is my thinking. We're going to go by T's. And I got my car. She get in her car. She'll follow me to my house. She didn't do that. She went home. Kind of made me mad, But that's what happened.
And I told the guy, got to have her right there. There was Mark walking in. I said, man,
He had a girlfriend. I had a boyfriend.
had an afro like that.
So how did y'all break that off and then y'all end up getting together?
Oh, Lord. You want to tell the truth? We were at a game.
Right?
And she ran up and hugged him, and I ran and hugged him too, and I pushed her off.
So you pushed her off of him. And what you say? How did that make you feel?
I was scared at the time. So I ran in the dressing room. And I guess the guys just, teasing me or making fun of me. And I really built up enough nerve that when I took my girlfriend home, and I couldn't tell her that night because I was still nervous, and she was fussing. And the next night, I called her, which was on a Sunday. I called her, could I come over that Monday? She said, yeah, I went over there that Monday night. And I said, I'm going to take you to the movies, and which I was. But when I got to the movies, I don't know, it just sprung up in me and said, hey, I seen this girl at school.
Man, she knew who I was.
Yeah, I just told her, I seen this girl at school, and I think, this is going to be it for us.
I guess I knew a little about basketball, and I love basketball. And then he used to play and shoot so good. And I was like, oh, yeah, he going to be my husband. He going to be my husband. And I used to say that all the time, he going to be my husband. So I just knew when I first met him, and I'm almost to fight this girl, he better marry me.
I believe the Holy Spirit to tell me that you're going to step into your destiny. I was like, what you mean by that? Like, I don't understand. It's Saturday and I'm about to go to decorate a show house. What does this have to do with my destiny? And so even when he approached me, I didn't equate that to being part of my destiny. And during our dating period and engagement, I never told him that because I'm like, I don't want to scare him off, and I don't know if this quite destiny. So, but in hindsight, absolutely, God was letting me know that I was about to meet my husband.
When we started dating, Will wanted me to come to his church. And I was like, well, no, I like this church where I am. And so what he did was, well, how about this? I'll go to church with you, and then you come to my church. And I was like, what? Because at the time, Faith Chapel had 3 services.
Correct.
And so he would go with me at that church, and then I would come at Faith Chapel. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that really gave him like, all right, now he checking off some boxes. He would only ask, hey, what did you learn? What did you learn? from the church. And so, because it was, we were still going out, and that's all he said. He didn't say anything. And I was like, well, they got a good worship team. I was just all in it like that.
Right.
And he didn't say anything because I was still learning a lot, in my spiritual growth. And so for him to not tease me, make fun of like, this is where you going, our church doing this, I thought that was great. I really did.
I knew that I had something special, and I knew that I wanted to go into a relationship with a man that he would know me as his wife, that it wasn't my duty to convince him.
You have to be vulnerable. And I would share with the female, you got to be open. Sometimes we get so locked into what we perceive or what our perception is that we can't receive the helpmate that he's designed for us. I was just studying the word again and just looking at the whole thing with Adam. And we have a lot of dialogue about Adam and why he had to give up a rib or what. But I saw Adam as a whole being operating at his full capacity. He probably didn't think he needed any help, right? And once he lost something was missing, he was probably a lot more open to receiving that help. She had in her what he needed then. So it takes humility to receive this gift, right? And we laugh and joke like people that like, I hadn't met her 2 years earlier. Not that, Corey. No. I wasn't ready for that. I wouldn't have been able to receive her.
Thank you.
And so his timing is always better than our ideas. But if you're perceiving to be something and you can't show vulnerability, I don't believe you can accurately receive the gift or the timing of your destiny or whatever. I do believe there is someone that God has created for you. I believe that. I didn't know she existed. I didn't.
Oh, we were trying to set
She
it.
didn't want to marry till January. I want to go ahead and get married. She said, well, let's wait till January. I get my income tax money. I can pay off some bills I got. She got some charge cards. She had good credit and charge cards. So she wanted to pay them off before we got married. And I just told her, no, don't worry about that. I said, we'll pay them off.
Pay them off together. Okay. And so what happened, how we decided to get married in August. We kept debating what day. August the 19th is when they asked me to marry. We married on October the 6th. During that time, the church I was attending, they was remodeling, so we was in another church. So we're gonna have a small wedding, okay. Mm-hmm. So I kept calling around different places, and believe it or not, the Sheraton, which at that time was the Hyatt House, I called. Somebody said, "Well, call the Hyatt House." I said, "Girl, that's out of my budget. You can't do that." But I called. I will never forget. I got the lady that handled the reservation name was Candace, and I tell her I want to get married. But listen, I want to get married at 7:30 in the morning. So I did. So I went down there and talked to her, and I said, I want to have a breakfast wedding. And I said, and we can do it all in one room. And she said, ain't nobody going to be in the other room. You can have the other room. I have it set up for breakfast, and you can have the wedding in one area. And so we got married at 7:30 a.m. in the morning at the Hyatt House.
And I didn't think nobody was going to show up.
And we didn't send no invitations out. It was about 125 people there.
It was ups and downs, but it just kept like, it been times when she wouldn't call me. Like, oh, okay, she wouldn't call me. And then I get in my little pattern. I ain't no call. To be honest, we didn't date a long period of time. Mm-hmm. We fell in love pretty quickly. And but we spent a lot of time together.
He proposed to me in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be at the Peach Drop.
Oh my God.
So I ain't gonna talk about that. So it's supposed to be at the Peach Drop. He's supposed to make this thing big. It was so big, like we're gonna go to the Peach Drop. So we was over his dad's house, and he was trying to leave at a certain time. It didn't work out, right? So I got proposed to in the garage of his dad's house in Atlanta. But he did get on his knees. Good. He got on his knees. It was challenging. It was challenging because we just didn't know. It wasn't a planned birth, for one. It wasn't planned.
But it changed because now you have a baby, and the times that we were just hanging out, going all
Yeah,
that was
that
kind of
stopped.
over.
Yeah.
Like, and it happened fast. So he was growing up, he had needs, and things were just changing in our relationship. Just, I'm gonna put it this way: we both were immature
Correct.
as a parent coming in because we didn't know,
We
this,
didn't.
we learning it.
See, I came up in a blended family, really.
Mhm.
I don't know if you knew that or not, but it was my dad had 7 kids by my mom.
Mhm.
My stepdad had 7 kids by my mom, 14, you know. But my stepdad, he was more like my dad. There wasn't no difference, you know. I never saw a difference. I'm the second oldest in the family, never saw no difference whatsoever. So it happened to me, and me and Raymond getting my Regina's son, he my son, you know. Yeah. See, I don't even like the word step,
Mhm.
you know, I don't even use it, you know, but it was no problem at all.
And it was totally different with me because I was born out of wedlock, and my grandparents raised me. So when my mom remarried, when my mom married her husband, I know as I grew up, I noticed that all of their none of them brought their outside children in to their marriage. And I always say I was a package deal. You can't bring Raymond Jr. in, you can't have me.
We had our first son, Corbin, 2 years after we got married.
Well, I think we decided that we wanted kids. I asked God, now I'm in faith and I'm learning about faith. So I said, God, I want 2 sons. I want them 2 years apart. I want them both left-handed. I got that. So she came to me on my birthday. She was like, what you want? I want my son. She was like, all right. And that's how it happened. So we were in agreement. We expected it. I don't know that I was prepared for what that meant. I got a great dad. He's my hero. She come from a great dad. And so we've been blessed that our parents been married 40 plus years. So we've seen it. But I saw it always from a son looking up to a dad, not the other way around of a dad looking at a son or sons. And so, yeah, we definitely wanted kids. We planned for it. But I think the challenge that brought on for me, I think it was a stretching of me. It helped me. It was a pruning that I had to go through to become less self-centered and sharing her with these other 2 little dudes. Like, it was cool I had to share her. Like, hold on, what we doing?
We didn't even get a chance to do a honeymoon. I was pregnant. We got married and I got pregnant.
I was excited actually, because everybody I knew had kids. So what I did, and this is BC. This is before Christ. Everybody had kids. So I went out and got cigars, I got liquor, I got a lot of stuff, and went around my boys, and we celebrated. We had a great time. And she wanted me at the hospital with her when she finna had a baby. And I was going to see my baby birth and all that. That was new back then, I went to sleep in the waiting room.
I was in so much pain, I didn't care. First
No,
of
you
all,
went to
I went to school first. I went back to school because I wanted to have a better life for our son. I want him to have everything. It just changed. When you got kids, there's another responsibility. So you have, and then you want to change yourself too. So I wanted to change and I wanted to be that perfect mother.
I didn't. I didn't want to be the perfect father. I was still ripping and running and, playing basketball everywhere all the time. We've been in church all our life, but we've never had a relationship with Christ during that time. So that's when I say before Christ. So it changed us in that aspect, in that I had to realize that I'm the parent and he's my son. I'm responsible for him. So everything he needs to learn, I need to teach him, so to speak.
We was everywhere because for me, I had this image of what a father looks like because my mom, dad been together for all, and in the same household, all of that. So I saw things like dad fixed stuff. Daddy couldn't fix stuff. So daddy had money to get someone to fix it, right? So I'm expecting, Will, if something's broke, hey, go get someone to fix it. But guess what? My husband could fix stuff. And my mind was like, hey, my daddy can get some. Why you can't get nobody to fix it? But Will telling me, hey, I can fix it. So for me, I was so immature of thinking, comparing like, hey, you're supposed to be like my daddy doing these things. But I didn't appreciate who he was of knowing, hey, my husband know how to fix something, baby. That's saving money. What you talking about? So my mind mentally was just everywhere because I had to recognize, wait a minute, he's not your father. You have to stop comparing him. He is Will and has these great qualities. So that's what's a growth. And it was a growth because I had a community.
To me, she was kind of strict on Raymond, her son. She was strict on kids anyway. But anyway, Raymond was a good boy. You know what I'm talking about? He wasn't no problem, but Buddy, she was kind of popping the whip on him sometimes. And, I had to tell her, I said, you too hard on him. He's not a bad boy. You understand what I'm saying? So I told her, I said, hey, I got to ease up on him. He ain't no bad boy. Just.
I lack knowledge.
Yes.
I lack knowledge spiritually because I never saw it. So you can't pattern stuff you haven't seen. But once you learn better, you can do better. So, and I'm sure you probably have heard, people say, you just like your dad, you just like your dad, and you just like your dad. But that's not our advice. Nobody never say that. Because children remember stuff like that, and then they can hold stuff in the inside about that. And things that I did say, I actually wrote Raymond and Harlem letters because after I heard the word and it affected my heart, I knew that I needed to apologize to them about things. So I learned that if anybody was getting married and they wanted to, and they're going to have a blended family, they need some lessons. If you ain't been sitting on the word, you need some lessons. You need somebody to tell you something.
I was so mad at Will because Will still loves basketball, right? Could I share?
Go ahead.
Love basketball. But we just had a child, right? And I was expecting, of course, the stuff you be seeing on Lifetime. At that time, we had Lifetime before Hallmark came. You see the dad is there holding the baby while mom do whatever. We'll play basketball. I was there a lot with the kids. So one time I just got mad. Baby, I was mad.
One time you got me?
Well, okay, this particular one I got really mad. So he had a PlayStation game. Oh,
the PlayStation.
Oh no, wait, was it PlayStation 3, 2, or what?
PlayStation 3, I think.
And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna fix him because we need time together. I was, wanting time and support at the time, supporting with with David. Babe, I got that PlayStation.
Hold it up.
I merged it in the water. Dried it off, laid it back on the TV.
Let me tell you something about Jesus, though. Let me tell you about the Lord. She tried to kill the PlayStation, but God brought that PlayStation back. That PlayStation came back.
It worked.
Never went out. I know she was mad then, but she was hot. She was hot. It still worked.
But that parenting transition from newlywed, really getting to know each other because we had just really met. And then the sacrifice that it challenged me to have grace around and changing in priority or the focus of what she was focused on. I was like, man, hold on, I ain't get my whole turn. What we doing around here, And just kind of managing that. I'm not saying I passed every test or I handled everything as well as I could, but it was certainly a pivotal change in the dynamics of our relationship a little bit.
It was a challenge, and it did impact like our relationship because our roles had changed. And I think as a couple, you have to acknowledge that your role changed when you went from single to married. Then your role changed from a married couple to a parent. And so that shift in being a wife to now being a wife and mother, that was a challenge because at that young age, they need basic needs met, nurturing. And as a man, he want that too. I'm like, it's just me. It's just me. And so how do you prioritize that and not damage the relationship? So I remember a day when I just told him, I'm like, look, we've never been parents before. Like, we doing this for the first time. So it's not gonna be perfect. I'm not gonna be perfect with it, but we didn't get no trial on this. This is it. And I think, once we acknowledge that, okay, we're navigating this together for the first time, then it shifted.
When I started coming in, I wanted to change my life. I needed to change my life because, to be honest, I was going clubbing too. He was clubbing, I was clubbing. So, to be honest, I needed a change in my life. And Ruby Russell, Minister Ruby Russell, me and her worked together. And she told me, she said, Val, in order for your life to change, you have to change. She said, well, I want you to come to church with me. Come to Bible study with me. I said, oh, okay, I'll come to Bible study with you. And then she told me, she said, you know that a bouquet of flower? She said, it won't become a bouquet until you change your life, and then it'll become beautiful and big, and then your family will come along. And then that's what happened. In 91, I got notes for it. I came here when the church was on the other side. I came and he can see the difference in me because I was serious about changing my life.
When I started coming to church here and I started listening to Pastor Mike, I thought, man, this man ain't talking about nothing but the Bible. He ain't talking about those stupid stuff. So I started coming here when Pastor Mike teach, then I would go to my church and try to expound on what I've learned here. And people saying, no, they weren't receptive to what I was learning. But I kept doing it because her and my son was here, and I started enjoying it. So the church got in all turmoil. And I would say, I'm a join Faith Chapel. And then the church got in all turmoil. And I said, well, I can't lead this church in turmoil.
We had started praying about it. Me and Darius had started praying about it. And then I went one Wednesday night after Bible study. I went up to the altar. And after I went to the altar and I came back, and I knew in my heart, it was like he was going to join. But at first I was like, he's not going to lead that church. He's not going to lead that church because he loved that church. And the people there, beautiful people, loving people. But I just thought that he needed a change too. And then one Sunday we did come. And just like I said, he walked past. We were in the middle of the aisle, in the middle of the seating area. And he went, and I think someone gave us, it was Pastor Mike gave us an invitation. And my eyes was closed. And when I opened my eyes, the man next to me, the lady next to me, she was like, is that your husband? And I'm like, baby, me and Darius then scream and holler. And it was, I know that was nobody but God.
I have God's character on me now. But I thank him. Yes, thank you. But I was a little firecracker, and just through the things that I saw in my household. Like, I know of strife. Oh my goodness. If I didn't, it was like, hey, listen, if it didn't work out my way, I'm like, oh, okay, I ain't talking to you for days,
We were both
weeks.
selfish. We were both
Yeah, it was days, weeks. And then it was so bad that I forgot why I'm mad at him. It was that bad. And so, but one thing with Will, at points, I saw his maturity grow, where when I had those outbursts or things like that, behavior, he was still, man, he was what's that word? Persistent. Oh my goodness. He was like, I know you ain't talking to me right now, but I want you to know I love you. He'll say those things and just keep going or whatever. He'll wash my car, just do things just like, hey, whatever you know, it's going to work out. And he'll throw a Bible verse in and I'll be like, not today. I'm just being honest how I felt. And
She
so
was silent. She was silent a lot. Yeah, like she would do that. I ain't gonna say nothing to him.
So she wasn't disrespectful.
It's a pet peeve. She wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was just that I ain't gonna say nothing, and she wouldn't say nothing. And I'm trying to get something in, but I know that was aggravating her. Me trying to get her to talk because I don't know where. Yeah, that's from the word that I had. Like we needed communication to not die. And the enemy tries to do that a lot. He'll work on whichever side he can to get the communication to shut down. And boy, I just bring up anything, just try to say something to get her to talk. But we now, like, I want to just say on this side of it, it's beautiful. But in the beginning stages, everybody has that. Some people may have it may be just harmony when they first go in it. I'm just saying for us and other people who have shared and kind of mentored us, said they had just some issues in that first beginning part. And I believe it's because two people are coming together as one, learning each other. Like whatever things that I had, some stuff that she didn't like me to leave my clothes, the gym clothes on the floor, that bothered her a whole lot. Like,
Top on the toothpaste bothered me.
Yeah, that bothered her a whole lot. And if I want to make them mad, I just put them down there. It's like, okay. So.
It's a challenge for me, and it's still an area of growth for me because naturally I'm a go with the flow. Don't easily get upset. Just chill type of person. And so if there is something bothering me, it's a challenge for me to initiate that conversation. And even when we do get into discussions, I don't respond right away. I process things, and he, I think, interprets it that I checked out, but I process things differently versus giving my direct response or clap back in the moment. And that's just, so it's still a challenge for me, but it is an area that God is blessing me to grow in, especially as I mature as a woman.
The natural thing is to go in your separate corners, kind of manifest there, and then however you come out, right? So I've had the benefit of having counsel around me of men that are married, men that want to be married, men that want to see me and my marriage grow. And I think without having to share all of my business with them, there is an accountability in that circle that helps me see myself. Then I go to God and he's like, yep. He punched, I get the kind of chastising in that moment too, because as a leader, you have to be willing to give up you have to be willing to serve and give up on some things to create an environment to where she's comfortable communicating. Is I guess what I'm getting at. And early on, I wasn't really feeling that. I'm like, we finna talk right now. Because I've been groomed and grown on, whether it's in my household or in sport or whatever, like, hey, it's an issue. Let's go and be accountable. Let's get it done. Let's fix it. Keep it moving. And I didn't understand her processing. I couldn't interpret that the right way. And as I've grown and again, getting counsel and wisdom from much more mature people further along than myself, I understand that I do have a responsibility to, again, create an environment to where she can receive, where it can be delivered, and then give her the space to process. Now, that's tough. I want it right now. And I think she's right. Like, that is probably the most nuanced, ongoing thing that we work through is communication. And my expectations for communications versus hers, and what we think needs to be communicated or not, But this is a partnership as well, and there are things that from just the household business that we have to communicate on a certain level. But I think me wanting to know my wife more, I'm very interested in her being fulfilled. I know that I'm probably not the best at like being not mushy, but you know. And so I want to do it right with her. I want us to be a couple, not just right now, but in our future, that we enjoy being around each other.
I think it's one thing we did when we got married that I don't know why didn't nobody tell us. We didn't have the knowledge that we
That's
have
right.
now. Is that our finances? When we married, it wasn't on her bill or my bill. It was our bill. Always. That's from the start. We put our money in the bank and we pay our bills.
Mhm.
But it's even with that, it's other issues come up. Like in our financial life early, I was on I-65 going south. She was on I-20 going west. I was tight. my mom, my
What?
mom, my
What?
mom used to call me stingy, but I wasn't stingy. I was tight. I was kind of frugal with my money. And my wife, now she's a giver. My wife is a giver. She loved to bless folks and everything. And tithing,
Mm.
we tithe. She never had an issue with giving and tithing. I tithe, but one time I had a frown on my face, but she never had a frown on her face about giving, about tithing, you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm.
So it come to a point where we both was on I-20 at mile marker 150 together.
We had some challenges, but I will say this. I know if I was not here at Faith Chapel, I probably would be divorced.
Well, the tough time was when I lost my job, I guess. That's one of them. I think that was one of them.
It was a tough time.
That was a tough time because I was making like $1,000 a week at the time, and I lost that job, and just like that, and I got on, but God, I got on unemployment. I took getting unemployment. And that was the time you could only get unemployment with for 6 months. You get it for 6 months, and I know you probably don't remember this, but I used to come up to the bridge, over here, and basketball. Me and I can't remember Vince. We used to come over here. And I didn't have no gas in my car. I said, but I can go to the bridge and then we'll figure it out. So Val said, we'll figure it out tomorrow. And we came here and you gave me a $25 gas card. I broke down in tears when I got to my car. My car was sitting on empty. You gave me a $25 gas card. I said, this ain't nothing but God. Nothing but God. And I went home and I was praying. I was thanking God about that. That was a challenge, but it really wasn't a challenge. It was like God was showing me that I got you. Don't worry about it. That kept coming up in my spirit. I kept telling, I said,
We
this
didn't
stuff,
lose a beat.
I said, this stuff keep coming up in my spirit. I got you. Didn't it? I just kept telling her.
God was so
God
good.
keep telling me. I said, thank you, God telling me he got me.
During that time when she was experiencing that, I went to, and that's not to put a check on it because that ain't what it's about. I wanted to be there, so I was at every session she had to go through and all of that. Like I wanted to be there because I want to be there. I want to see, hey, who doing what they, I want to check everything out. I'd be back behind the scenes and stuff like that, but it was just being there, what she's going through, because nobody knows how that would feel but that person. She was always in a way that, oh, I'm good, but I knew she was going through the situation. So she was super strong through God through the whole situation. And like she said, through teachings that we have received, it helped us to navigate through the challenging times. Like it was just a long process, but she was super, like, I'm really like, if it was me, like, like we said with men, if we get a little cut on our leg, we struggling, like it just, because women bear the baby and all of that. What she went through was supernatural. Like God's hand was on it. And it was the word, it was prayer, and it was being together.
And it was action. Love without action, I don't know what that is. So when he says what he just said and shared about how he was there, the support, and a lot of people may not know, but Will's mom was diagnosed prior to my diagnosis. No, was it after? Prior.
Yeah, they
It
was kind
seemed
of
like the
both
same
going
time.
in. So
And so his mother was living with us at the time. She was diagnosed with lung cancer, and our body was invaded with cancer. And so Will was there at all of the radiation, the chemo treatments, and with the chemo treatments, man, we would have a date after chemo.
Sure, yeah.
He would take me. He's like, "What restaurant you want to go to?" So we went to Fish Market, and I went to Mooyah's because I love a burger. So we went to Mooyah, and we ate. Usually, when the chemo's in your body, after that treatment, the next day is when that's a lot of challenging in your health. But the first day you feel okay, and so he would do that every treatment, and it was the action, and then one day the radiation.
Yeah.
I gotta share this story.
That was good.
Man, this was my last radiation, and I was so excited. Like, baby, this is the last one. And this was in the morning. Now, I'm a morning person. Will it's not. And so I'm up here like, babe, this is the last one. He said, oh, okay. Oh, Jesus, I wanted to be hot. Like, oh, okay, like, come on, go with me. And so the radiation treatments wasn't so aggressive. So there were some that I said, babe, you're good, because it's less than 15 minutes going in and out. But this time was my last one. This was a special one, right? So he stayed in the bed. And so I'm like, Lord, I'm not going to get upset. I'm not going to get upset. I was livid. Baby, I was hot as fire. You hear me? But I said, okay, the Lord, you're with me. Because that's what he said to me in Matthew 28:26 or 20:26. And I knew that I'm never alone. He's with me. So that was my motivation to get on out.
All right.
I got on out, went on to that the center, and it was another lady in the waiting room, and I needed somebody to vent and tell my story. I said, I'm just so mad. This is my last radiation treatment, and I'm thinking my husband would be here to celebrate with me. And she said, oh, baby. She didn't know me. I was a stranger to her, and I'm up here telling my story. And she said, it's going to be okay, but I'm celebrating with you. I said, you surely are, and I'm excited. So I went on in to my radiation, leaving out at the lobby to go, because they called me in. And I'm like, man, baby, as soon as I came out, fully dressed and finished radiation, the nurses were standing by, all by the door. And I'm like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, they maybe, I just didn't have no clue, because I have no point of reference. There go my husband with a vase of roses with my kids.
Praise the Lord.
You what?
I say praise the Lord.
Yes. He said, you here? And I said, I thought you forgot. I broke down, baby.
Well, I acted that thing so good. She said, this is how she did it, though. I'm going to give you the other version. She said, well, she when she's trying to do something, she's going to kind of speak out loud. Well, I got to go to the land, kind of like that. I said, oh, okay, all right. It's out. And so I had already gave David and Savannah the cue. I said, she out. So we going to fly and get over there. So I knew it was going to be going on. But she was, ooh-wee, because I was like, all right, go ahead and do what you got to do. And we was just out. And then I said, David, Savannah, because they were ready. Everybody was queued up. We was ready to go. But yeah, that was a Holy Ghost inspired surprise, because he led me on how to do that.
I went down to my knees crying. Man, that was so amazing.
Don't give up. God, just like the words say, he'll never leave you nor forsake you. He's always there. Always there. Don't give up. Don't get depressed. Don't go to the left. Don't go to the right. Just focus on him. I promise you, he will fix it.
It's a word that says, be anxious for nothing. In all your ways, prayer. But and supplication make your request known to God. Sometimes that's challenging because you're looking at the natural part of it and you're thinking, I'm the breadwinner. And yeah, I'm praying, Lord, but I don't see no results.
But you can't give up.
You know, you don't see results. So, but if you stay focused, and when that anxiousness come up, just it don't matter. I can't give you a word, but mine was like, but God. That was mine. That was my word, but God. When I got anxious, I would always say, but God. Nothing ever materialized at the time, but it helped me. And I could wait on God to do things. And we was at the skin doctor before my diagnosis, long before we was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I was having spots coming up on me. So we're going through all these tests. So the guy said your white blood cells are not matching up for some reason. So we went to all these doctors.
Every time he walked in, his feet was bleeding, just bursting and bleeding. He was in so much pain walking from the parking lot into the church. Hands bleeding, hands shedding, just our granddaughter was scared to see his hand. His skin color had turned dark. But anyway, he went to see that doctor, Dr. Elmis, dermatologist at Kirkland Clinic. He went to see them, and they did a biopsy and found out that he had skin cancer.
And when I got that, I didn't realize. I asked him, "How was it?" He said, "Well, Mr. Sears, don't worry about it. You take your medicine. We're gonna do that." And the medicine, the prescription was like $5,000 a month. So I said, man, I ain't got that kind of money. I can't pay no $5,000 a month. He said, "Don't worry about it." Girl went to work. She said, "Don't worry about it. We're gonna figure this out." Got on the phone, called from Washington to Miami. And the people started, it took them like a few months, but they started sending me my medicine. You know, so after a while, we just started praying about it, and I got relief about it. And Pastor Mike called.
Scripture. I told him to read.
No, he told me.
Listen to his tapes.
Yes.
He listened to his tape I know he listened to it every week, but he was listening to it every day. And I know he listened to it sometimes he'll go in the kitchen and he'll start listening. And that word he said, get it down in your spirit. He listened and he listened and he listened. When we went to the doctor last month, 3 months ago, the doctor told him, Mr. Seals, if I can use you as a poster, I use you as a poster. He said, because none of my patient is doing as well as you are.
Yeah.
You know, I think I want to shout out our parents, first of all. They, from the beginning, were very intentional with making sure we had space to be a couple. So early on, they would get the buddies, keep them, and allow us to go out and have a good time. I think over the seasons, we've been able to incorporate traveling a little bit more, going on fun trips together, you know, kind of without the buddies. But a simple date night. I think having space to just be with each other, we can sit at home and watch a movie. I think we've matured and kind of navigated that through the seasons that we're in. And so I think that keeps us like the interest going. Like, I want her to be my girlfriend, you know, and I want to treat her like my girlfriend and go out on dates and pursue her, like always at her, you know. I don't want her to ever feel like I'm letting up, because I ain't, you know. And so I think just making sure she knows how much I desire her and I want to be with her, it keeps energy there.
It's very important to hang out with couples that grow you.
Yes.
You don't want to hang with no couple that bring you down. You understand what I'm saying? You need to be around people that you want to be like. You know, you see them doing things and you want to do the same thing, and it just grows you up. Yeah.
I heard somebody, I don't know who it was, but they said, if you're the biggest fish in the pond, you need to get out that pond. You need somebody that you need to be, okay, they good in this area, they good in that area. Somebody that can grow you up, explore your mind, you know, take you places, show you things. We admire Tina Tiles. Because I always wanted another house. When I moved from Fairfield, I was in Fairfield. I wanted another house, but James said, the next move I move is going to be up.
Going to heaven.
But Tina Time stretched him because
she
when
did.
yeah, she really did. But okay, first of all, Fred Price, when he came to the church and said, "Hey, all this is good, but everybody won't be able to pay cash. That's what good credit for." He came home talking about, "Oh, we're gonna buy a house." I said, "Woo, yippee, yippee, yippee." Ain't never missed a note, ain't never been late, paid it off before time. Hey, hey, he's she stretched him. I thank God. I remember that promise. He said, if you help Pastor, I helped you. I said, yes, that's the way to do it.
Never, ever, never let people influence you in your marriage. Keep other people outside your marriage. Work everything out for you and your spouse. And never go to bed angry for real, because if you do, the next morning you'll still be angry. So always try to hash out whatever's going on with you the night before.
We spend a lot of time together, even though we do a lot. We do. There was an immature time, even in ministry. I'll share this, where I was doing my thing, she's doing her thing. We in totally different departments. She would have to go to Columbus, and it was really not my department because I'm an armor bearer or I'm doing something differently. And I realized this happened a few years ago, recently, not too long, maybe 2 years ago. I said, I need to go every time she goes, even if I'm not part of it. And she recruited me. Now I got to teach the kids. Now I'm sure.
But you're good at it.
Yeah, so now I just ain't going. I'm
For
teaching.
Sunday.
Yeah,
For
so
Sunday.
I have to teach. But I just didn't want her on the. As you grow in relationships, they become more special to you. So over the years, as we have grown, stuff that you can take for granted, you practice to not take it for granted anymore. So I enjoy going. I want to go, but it was a time she was just going, and I was like, oh, that just.
And then could I say this too? It also have great community, because sometimes people put things in your ear to say, like, man, hey, you going to Columbus with your wife, and that can kind of help, because sometimes we miss it. And there's times when someone shares to me like, hey, you gonna say that to him like that? So it's great to have that community to help you, because sometimes we can forget, take it for granted. So it's so important to have a good community.
It's a journey. I mean, we're still in the journey, and any life happenings that you want to have success in, it comes down to either you're gonna process it as a sprint or you're gonna process it as a journey. And I think this day and time, the sprinting of marriages and meaningful relationships has come to a downfall and a division. And so looking at it as a journey, and that there will be seasons where there's challenges or you may not be on the same page, but there's also that point where everything is flowing so just not taking that one season as in the accumulation of the whole relationship.
You have to have a relationship with God. You have to trust Him. You have to love Him. You have to listen to the Word. You have to get in the Word. Both partners have to do it. And then the thing too about when you get into a marriage, you're already selfish because you want things going your way and she wants things going her way. And I learned over the years that selfish is unspiritual and demonic. That's in James 3:15. I remember that. But it really and truly is. Selfishness is you're not going to make it if you're selfish in a relationship. You're just not going to make it. You have to have God first in your life.
Always have an alignment. Always have, it's okay to have someone to talk with, going to marriage counselors. There's some at church. We went to them when we were good or bad. And so just sharing that's sometimes going to, like, I remember my mom, it's like, I don't want to know nothing about you telling me about Will. She would say that. And she was like, because, see, you'll forgive him tomorrow. I won't. I'm still stuck there. So have that safe place to someone that you can talk to that won't have that, having a different feeling about your spouse because you shared it. So have that safe place.
Stay focused on your person, your partner, and getting to know them. And there's all this, there's still so many layers I got to get to know of her. And if my attention is there, then it keeps me from drifting off into some kind of thing that ultimately will unravel what we have built. And so you've put in the work. If you've been married that long, stay committed to it and see it through.
But I learned, a man is the head, but you got to be smart enough as the CEO to know when to delegate. You know what your weaknesses are, and my weakness was keeping up with things and handling it, and she was excellent at it. And I ain't got no problem with her handling all the money. She could handle it. I'd be henpecked, but she handled the money because she's good at keeping up with it and everything, and I ain't got to worry about it.
You got to keep the line of communication open. It might not be that you can work through it that day, but you need to be able to say, okay, especially ladies, sometimes we can jump the gun, but I think you need to make a list. Put the pros and the cons. Most time, the pros gonna outweigh the cons. And you're gonna say, okay, I need to just kind of sit back, take a deep breath, and let me just think about this thing.
Married couples got to understand, you got to put up with some things. You got to, because things gonna happen. There's gonna always be something in your marriage that could cause you to divorce. You got to fight through. If you fight through, it gonna come up again. Now that it ain't just a one-time deal. It gonna come up again, but you get stronger. You build up your marriage muscles, your faith muscles, and then things they're easier to deal with. But I think couples today are too quick to divorce instead of fighting through. If you fight through, the next problem will be a little easier to make it through.
We want to thank all the couples for sharing their insights, their experiences, and their wisdom. I'm convinced that you've gotten something from these couples. I want you to make sure that you practice some of the things that you've learned in your marriage, and make sure that you prioritize your marriage. If these couples have blessed you, I want you to share this podcast with others, and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I look forward to seeing you next time.